Blog Talk Radio.
There is a mystery lurking the forested areas of the world. Many have seen something, but what is it? Are they seeing known animals? They claim they walk upright, like a human. There are so many eyewitnesses. Can they all be wrong? Is someone just playing a trick on people? Or is it possible a large bipedal being could exist in the forests of the world? You have a decision to make. Do you believe it exists? These are the topics we discuss on Sasquatch Watch Radio. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is September 3rd, 2013. And before we get started with the show tonight, let me introduce my wonderful co-host, the Creature Seeker. How you doing tonight, Creature?
Hey, Billy. I'm doing better than I was over the weekend. That's for sure.
Well, I wish I could say the same, but can't really say that at the moment. Sorry about the delay on getting on the show. I'd been trying for the past 15 minutes to get Blog Talk to work with Skype, and between the two of them, they wasn't cooperating. So I had to, if I sound different tonight, it's because I've got to do the show by the telephone. So it's always something.
Yeah.
And thank goodness our guest tonight called in, because I was going to have to kind of put you on hold and go in and pull him in, but it looks like he's already entered the show on the phone line, so we should be good there. So we have anything to announce tonight, Bruce?
Trying to think, Billy. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I just thought I'd check, because I know you're the bearer of all good news.
I think the thing is, within the next, we'll have some news to announce.
Okay.
Tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, we certainly have a good show tonight. We've got a wonderful guest that we've invited from New York. A lot of people know who this fella is. We've got Mr. Steve Kulls from New York. He's going to we're going to get into a little bit of a discussion about the latest Bigfoot hoax and some of the interesting facts that surrounded that hoax, because Steve seems to know quite a bit about this latest incident, and after you hear the show tonight, I think you'll know why. So without further ado, we will go ahead and welcome our guest on the show, Mr. Steve Kulls. How you doing tonight, Steve?
Hey,
what's
Steve.
up, Billy? What's up, Bruce? How's it going, guys?
Hanging in there.
Doing good here, as good as I can.
Yeah, well, hang tough, guys, hang tough. It all, I think this year, collectively, knowing what you, Billy, knowing what I've just been through, this year has kind of sucked
Yeah, it has. It sucks.
I lost my brother a few weeks ago. Chris Bennett, my co-host on my show, lost his father a couple of months ago. I mean,
wow.
It's just been a horrible, horrible year for folks on a personal level. It's not even in community-wise. It's just on a personal level. So many friends I know that have just had these horrible losses, and I just hope 2014 is a little better.
That's what we can only hope.
Well, I saved 15% on my auto insurance by switching to Geico.
Well, that's always a plus.
You want to hear something? I just saved my girlfriend 102% by switching her out of Geico. No lie. They were tagging her for almost $200 a month. I'm like, for what? And I switched her for like under half that.
Wow.
So I just made that up. I just wanted to throw in some good news because there was a lot of bad news there. So
well, you know what tomorrow is, right? You do know what tomorrow is.
What is tomorrow?
What day is it? What day is it? Tomorrow's Hump Day.
Hump Day.
Hump Day, yeah.
I tell you, Geico can come up with some commercials now.
They do. I love that camel.
Oh, wow.
Julie, I know you can hear me, Julie.
So, Steve, what have you been up to?
Well, as some have noticed, I've put together a new field team. And that came about due to some personal differences with some of the folks I was using for my old field team. They have seemed to have gone the paranormal route with their Sasquatch, and that just doesn't jive with me. To talk about any of that stuff is putting the cart before the horse. And the first fact of the matter is we got to prove the creature exists, let alone try to prove any of these other crazy, well, I won't say crazy things, but to prove any of these other things that have, less to do with science and more to do with, opinion. And, so we split. We're putting together. We've got quite an expedition schedule coming up. Folks know that, the fall time is usually when I'm in the field the most, and I'm going to be out and about over the next few months. I know I got a trip to Vermont scheduled out. Haven't heard in from my Vermont rep. He's had the trail cameras in place, seeing if we can get a repeat of what happened a few years ago. Whether it's Sasquatch or not or whatever, we're just hoping that, there was a nice apple crop this year. We're just keeping that whole area staked out with trail cameras, and we'll see if that produces anything or if it doesn't,
Good.
And that's really where we've been at. So.
All right. Very good. Sounds like you're getting things together and getting everything formulated.
Yeah.
Now, I know he must be turning over a new leaf, Billy.
Turning a new leaf.
Why is that? What, me organized?
He's getting organized.
Well, the seat of the pants thing doesn't go too well with the new missus, so I gotta plan these things out. Otherwise, I'm gonna get beat up. So.
Well, she's got you on a pretty short leash these days, huh, Steve?
Well, somebody needs to do it. So somebody needs to. Otherwise, I get out of control. You've seen me at these conferences, Bruce.
Well, she's got a job ahead of her.
Yeah, she does. She does.
Well, obviously, we know that you've had quite a bit of excitement here over the last. Well, let's see. That's been the last couple months, I guess.
Well, no. You mean as far as the whole Tricky Ricky stuff?
Yeah, Tricky Ricky.
Tighty Whitey, Tricky Ricky, or whatever they might come with. Well, it was actually more like the last few weeks. A lot of folks, I got involved in this, actually, I would have to say somewhere around September when, this all first came out. There was Facebook Find Bigfoot, was promising this video release, and, I looked at it, and then after, a little sidebar with some researchers, we've come up with the fact that this was actually a Rick Dyer video, and then all of a sudden, after it was pretty much proved that it was a Rick Dyer video, everybody kind of laughed it off for a while. And then all of a sudden we have the thing of a body, and again, and I didn't pay much attention to it at all for the first couple of months until I started noticing that, there was a lot of people who are now in the community, much in part due to Facebook, because back in 2008, Facebook was not really the rage.
Right.
And so we have a lot of folks that came in post 2008, wasn't really 100% sure what Rick Dyer was all about, and really there were some people that were actually saying that they didn't care what happened in 2008, which is kind of, astonishing to believe, but they didn't. So that's when I got involved, and I happened to shoot out a bunch of stuff that I had done when I was researching the whole video thing. That, Mr. Dyer was buying a lot of video equipment and a lot of different camera equipment, prior to his announcement that he had a body again.
Right.
So, that information came out. And then after a little while, Facebook Find Bigfoot came out with an authentication video, and I pretty much effectively tore that one apart, saying, well, here's some videos from supposedly before, or here's some pictures before when, this allegedly happened, which was supposed to have been, I think, September 2012, just about a year ago. And here's some pictures from, March of 2012 that they're claiming that, was part of this photograph. So that kind of effectively destroyed that. And, it was a constant, debunking of every single, claim that Mr. Dyer was making. And, some of his claims were getting, really more ridiculous as time went on. And finally it came to a head in, I would say, May, when, finally he challenged me to come on his radio show, and I did. Or no,
right.
Actually, he didn't challenge me to come on his radio show. They decided to have a slam fest at my expense, so I decided to call in, and I kind of took them off guard. And, Dyer trying to showboat, tried to act like Mr. Magnanimous. And basically what I did was I proved to all his followers that I'm not the evil incarnate that Mr. Dyer says I am. Has nothing to do with 2008 at all. This all has to do with what happened allegedly in 2012. And, we've had, promise after promise by Mr. Dyer in this, and I'm sitting there telling everybody, this isn't true, this isn't true, this isn't true, and every single promise he's made is falling through. So finally when I came on this radio show, I explained to his listeners that, hey, listen, until I see proof, and I haven't seen any proof at all, other than some guy by the name of Muskie Allen, was actually his real name was Alan Isleb, who claims to have been a Hindu disciple, but we know from William Jennings he's not. Well, we've learned that there's no evidence at all to support his claim. And that was my point to his people, was that, hey, you know what, until he shows something, until he proves something, obviously I believe this is a hoax, and that's my belief, and if you don't want to look at the evidence I've come up with, that's fine, but don't condemn me, don't get mad at me, don't, let's not start throwing, garbage at me, because that's what I believe. Have you seen any other evidence? No. And that was that, and I kind of let the thing drop. And then we come to August of this month when Mr. Dyer, I think out of desperation for attention, because everybody pretty much said, yeah, whatever, okay, we'll wait till the 15th when he was claiming he was going to release the body again.
Right.
No coincidence that it would have been August 15th. But all of a sudden he starts claiming, you know, a couple of weeks ahead he issues a challenge to myself, a man by the name of J.R. Dobbs, and a man by the name of Randy Flipovic, a.k.a. Racer X, to come out to L.A., and he's going to show us now this live one that all of a sudden emerged. And the story was ludicrous. I didn't even listen to half the story. All I know is that he issued a challenge. It sounded pretty ridiculous. So I took him up on it. And the day before I flew out to L.A., I got a call from Robert Lindsay. And, you know, he asked me if he could do an interview with me real quick. And yes, and he asked me a question. One of the first questions he asked me is, so you're going out to L.A. to potentially see a Bigfoot baby? I said, no, I'm going out to L.A. to expose a hoax. There's no doubt in my mind that this is a hoax. It's 100% a hoax. And I said that also in several places on Facebook, too, where people would ask me, so are you going to go see the baby? No, I'm going to go expose a hoax. I was never at all doubting that this was a hoax. So that night, I called Dyer up on the phone after emailing him, because he changes his phone number like he changes, well, like some people change underwear. I don't know if he changes his underwear that often. You know, from looking at one of the pictures, I'm not so sure, but he was trying to wiggle out. Well, I need confirmation. Can you send? Listen, Eric, I'm on vacation. I'm actually not even home. I haven't been home in 3 days. I've been, you know, so I don't have access to a computer. Well, I'm going to call this off because you're not providing me. He was doing everything he could to call it off, and basically what it came down to me saying to him, I go, listen, Rick, I said, I tell you what, and this is a quote, and it's kind of funny, and pardon the language after at the end of this, but I said, you know what, you challenged me to go out to L.A. Okay, if you go to L.A. and I go to L.A., where somebody doesn't show up, the person who doesn't show up is going to look like the asshole. Well,
right.
Well, anyway, at that point he kind of reversed himself, said, all right, fine. And I flew out, and I had a running game plan for minute one, and, you know, I don't know what he thinks, you know, and this is part, I was kind of thinking about this last night because I knew some of the line of questioning would be in this matter. And, you know, you got to understand that the sociopathic brain is that it's not thinking on all 8 cylinders. It's probably missing a few, and a couple of other ones are misfiring. And he thinks for some reason I'm going to be dog-damned to go out there and do whatever he wants just to see his baby. Well, I knew there wasn't a baby, and that's what he couldn't understand at that point. And I did it to the point of, you know, I got to see where this goes. Not that there ever was going to be a baby, but I knew that when eventually it's going to be exposed as a hoax. And I figured that'll be that, and that'll be the end of it. And for the most part, that's what happens. But when I hit the ground, I was in contact with a couple of researchers who, from California, Sue Mateus and a gentleman by the name of Bugs and Bugs Mitchell. And, you know, they were, you know, Bugs lived locally, and Susie was going to drive to his house. He lived, I think, in somewhere up near Sonoma. So she was coming down to see him, meet up with him, and they were going to go to the airport where Rick was supposed to be picking us up. Now, of course, the one thing that I did was I told Rick I was coming in at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I had actually gotten in at 10:30 in the morning in California time. So I had given myself a couple extra hours to plan and pre-plan. And
right.
The funny thing is how I got there. I wasn't really planning on taking his challenge, but I actually got a call from, you know, Jack Barnes and Jeff Anderson from Facebook, Find Bigfoot, and they were, you know, hey, listen, we really want you to go because we want to know the truth. We want to know if this thing, you know, he is not. I don't know what happened between the bunch of them. Well, I have some idea now that I'm talking to Jack and Jeff, and I'm using their pseudonyms. We all know their real names are John and Jack, but they had enough frequent flyer miles. They said, we can get you out there with our frequent flyer miles. So they got me a ticket booked. So it didn't cost anybody a nickel to get me out there. It just costed me a little time, and it didn't really matter to me. I mean, have plenty of personal time at work, so I took a day, and off I went. Like I said, I got there at 10:30. I started pre-planning. Once I knew they were coming, I was okay, good. I called Dyer probably about 11:30 California time, and he's like, "Oh man, I just got going." See, what he doesn't realize is that he told me the night before it was going to be a 9-hour drive for him. Well, I know on bad traffic days, the Vegas to LA run is about 6 hours. That's with bad traffic. On good traffic days, it's about 4.5. I know that. You know, I'm not dumb. So I knew something was up from the get-go with that. So at one point, Mr. Dyer calls up and says, "I can't meet you. I can't pick you up at the LAX. I feel like somebody's going to follow me, blah, blah, blah." I'm thinking, well, why would you care about anybody following you? You put up an invite. I knew this was another ruse, and like I said, I was in contact with a few other people. And the first thing I did is after he hung up, he wanted me to meet him at the Hollywood sign. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do that. Just grab a cab, beat me up at the Hollywood sign. Okay, right, I'm going to do that. So the minute I got off the phone, I got on the phone. I think it was our good friend Eric Orm that I called up and I said, the games are beginning already. So my game plan was, okay, well, he wants me to take a cab up to the Hollywood sign. He said, oh, it'll take about 10 minutes to get here. It'll be $10, no more than a $10 fare. And I'm like, yeah, right. So I call up the troops that are en route, and they're still an hour and a half away yet from getting, set to be at LAX. So I know, right off the get-go that the actual cab time will probably be an hour and a half, and it'll probably be like a $200 bill to get up there. So I wasn't going anywhere in a cab. I said, just swing by me, come to LAX, pick me up, and we'll drive up and see if he's actually there or not. Right. Well, as it turns out, Dyer starts getting, frantic and pissy. And, of course, I'm doing everything to put him off. Oh, I got to walk to the ATM. I got to hit an ATM. And he's like, no, don't worry about that. I'll pay for the cab when it gets here. I'm like, no, I got this. It's all good. I need to go up there. I go, traffic's crazy down there. I actually have to order a cab, and then they have to call up their dispatch, and they'll send one to the airport for me. I was making up all kinds of hooey stories to him just to buy some time, just to get my people there to get there. Right. So finally, he's getting all nervous and jerky. What was really screwing his timetable up was that J.R. Dobbs was in town. So he didn't know, he was getting really freaked out and nervous about it because we weren't on the same time schedule. And I was taking my sweet-ass time. He figured he'd have me in the cab looking around, and no, it was never happening. So finally I got to the point where Bugs and Susie show up. I text him. I say, hey, why don't I just meet you down at the hotel that you're meeting J.R. Dobbs at? And there was a little pause for a while. And then okay, fine, whatever works for you. I go, okay, what hotel is he staying at? Holiday Inn. Folks are like, okay, there's a Holiday Inn probably about 5 minutes from here. So I tell him, okay, I'm in the cab now. And we go down to the Holiday Inn. I look around. I don't see any kind of commotion. I don't see his bumbling butt. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to walk to the gas station next door. I'm not a smoker. I want to get a pack of butts. So I go in, get myself, and I want to thank Mr. Dyer for allowing me to come out to L.A. because smokes are about half in California than what they are in New York. So thank you for that. So I walked out with my arm full of cigarettes because I'm like, they're half price. I come walking out, and all of a sudden my phone starts blowing up. Dyer's broadcasting, and he's home in Las Vegas. And the first thing I did was I laughed. I got him. And he's trying to tell me how he got me. Well, you idiot. If he had just read what was in Lindsay's blog, which got posted just before I left, or actually it was when I got into Detroit and before I left Detroit, in my layover, that it was hitting the airwaves. It says right there that I was going there to bust a hoax. What are your chances of this being a hoax? 100%. You know, it was no great secret that what happened is he never expected anybody to call him on it, and I did, because that's what needs to be done with these people sometimes, is you just need to call it. And people will say, well, why'd you waste your time? Or why? Well, I'll tell you why, because when he did that, when he pulled that off, about 90 to 95% of his supporters said, this is BS, goodbye Rick Dyer. And that's what happened. So we got a lot of people that turned around and said, we know what Rick Dyer is all about. We see now who the real hater is, because he likes calling the people against him haters. He's the real hater. He has been, you know, and he was always bringing up, oh, Steve's trying to get revenge on me for 2008. No, Rick, it was actually the other way around. It was you trying to get revenge for me for not taking Biscardi's bribe in 2008 and just looking the other way. That's the real reason why he wanted revenge on me. Right. So we know who the real hater is, and that's it. I mean, this has all been about revenge, and for some, for me, it didn't work. I mean, he ended up looking like a fool, and it's kind of funny because I had done a show like the day after I'd come back. I think it was Monster X Radio, and I had advertised it on my blog at the time, and Dyer was listening to the show, and I challenged him to call on the show. Of course, he never did, and he was really big the next night on his show, repeating a lot of things I had said on the Monster X show, and he was trying to challenge me to call in his show. But the way I see it is that because of this, Mr. Dyer has lost any possibility of calling me out for anything. He called me out once, he didn't show. If he's got something to show, let him email me. I'll give him my address, and he can show up at a time of my choosing if he wants to prove that he's got anything to me anymore. Otherwise, I got nothing to say to the guy. I got really, I don't want to be, I'm not even wasting my breath, thinking about, if he's got anything or what his next move is. Don't care. As far as I'm concerned, this thing is a wash, and he's a hoaxer again. And so I'm just hoping that his support that was left realizes that, and they, depart that thing. That's it. I mean, that's what more.
Well, I look at it like this, Steve. As far as I'm concerned, honestly, once a hoaxer, always a hoaxer. I don't think that type of person can change.
No.
And I don't know if you know it or not. We have a local hoaxer here in the state of Virginia, and this person, I associated with for probably a good couple, 2 or 3 years. And when I was hoaxed, I was done. So, and this individual has tried time and time again, everything from friending me on Facebook to sending emails to everything. I'm sorry. That is one thing, especially when you spend 2 to 3 years worth of research, realizing that you probably wasted the biggest part of that time. It's just not a good feeling.
Well, it's pretty amazing because I remember the Daisy in the Box thing at the beginning of the year. With the Ed Smith ordeal and the Quantra 5 and whatnot. And we had some discussions when, the hoaxer Ed Smith wanted us to come down and look at a body and blah, 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 and wanted a team of people to come down and, look at whatever they had or whatever. And I said, I agree. Let's announce this thing that we're going down to look at it, and it's going to set the timetable up. This is it. Either you're going to show this, you're going to have us en route and planned by Friday, or we're going to call this BS.
Right.
And eventually it was boom. It just went away really quick. Within 48 hours, the hoax was over with. People don't realize that you have to call these hoaxers on it sometimes that are making these huge claims. People ask me, well, if you knew Dyer was a hoaxer, why did you go? Why? Because there's so many people that were hooked on him. So many people where, and not to mention, people were paying him for these stupid memberships. And frankly,
that's a good point, Steve. One question that I have always asked is why? Why do people get hooked on someone who has hoaxed before and think that they can now tell the truth?
Well, it's kind of like this. It's how should I say it? All right, you got to look at a case study for this. Rick Dyer is a sociopath. He has shown all the sociopathic tendencies there is. He's not a pathological liar. He lies with purpose, and and he doesn't care who he harms or what he says or what he does. I mean, he called one guy a pedophile, and the guy happened to be an Australian reporter, and he didn't take very kindly to that. Right. Remember what he said about Lauren Coleman back in 2008? Right. I mean, he's made a lot of claims about me that were just completely made up. Why does he do that? And that is a typical sociopathic behavior. Okay, now you look at the other things. What does he do for the months of October, November, December, January, all the way through, I think, June or July he was doing this. He was doing a regular show every night of the week, 3 hours a night, and what he was doing was he was preaching. This sounds a lot like Jim Jones. Yeah. If you think about it, and Jim Jones was a sociopath who got a cult following, who got up on the pulpit every day and preached. So we see this similar pattern. Why does Mr. Dyer do this? Because, like I said in Monster X Radio, he was the kid everybody would throw sand in the face at the beach, tie him to the pier for high tide, give him the super wedgie in high school, putting that under that tighty-whitey over his head every day in high school. So this is his way of trying to make himself feel big and bad and great at something, making him feel super spectacular, better than everybody else. And this is his way of doing it. And that it's just a psychological need. And, yeah, the reason why he's soaking people for money is not to make money, like a lot of people think that money in a hoaxer's repertoire is or a hoaxing or a money motive is the number one reason for a hoaxer. They're incorrect. The number one motive for a hoaxer is a psychological need to feel something, either some sort of importance, to be part of something, to get involved with something, to be friends with some folks. That's their quintessential crux. The hoaxer is got a psychological need. These are people in need of therapy a lot of times. Right. With severe emotional scarring. I mean, you look at another hoaxer I busted who continues to say nasty things about me under, we had an anonymous blogger write in about this or that, and they got to throw my name and throw parts at it. But, I mean, I proved her lock, stock, and barrel, and that's Linda Newton-Perry of the Bigfoot Value blog. Her ESP team, and that was completely blown out of the water. The fact we found the people she was posting pictures of claiming to be the ESP team, and we know who they really are. They're not even in Oregon. So, but, she continues to cling on to that because that's her own little world. Now, Dyer is a much different animal. He likes this confrontation. He wants to feel superior. And like I said, he thought he was going to call everybody out, and that's another reason why I went to is, well, he called me out. You know what? I'll go to California if I can get a free fare there, and I did. Right. And guess what? I called you on it, and he's the one who didn't show up. What a surprise. Like I said, it didn't surprise me a bit, but look at the psychological makeup of it. Of course he's going to say, well, I planned on doing that. No, he never planned on doing that. He planned on nobody ever taking his challenge, and then when somebody was trying to, he was trying to deny it. Right. Oh, no, I need confirmation. I'm calling this thing off. I'm not driving 9 hours to L.A. You know what? You just be there. You got my word. I'm going to be there. In fact, this is what time My flight leaves Albany. This is my flight number. This is my flight number I'm coming into LAX with. You know, so
right.
You know, he just never expected anybody to take it. And guess what?
Well,
I'm sorry.
you know, Steve. You know what's funny about it, though, Steve? You know, you had mentioned a while ago, you know, that hoaxers' motives aren't necessarily money.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, maybe what he should have just realized was that, you know, hoaxing's not where the money is, it's conferences. I mean, that's what all the bloggers say. The bloggers say the conferences are the money makers.
And
right,
writing
Bruce?
books, obviously.
Yeah,
right, Bruce?
I'm you know, I'm just a billionaire just kicking around with this Bigfoot thing to kill time, Billy. Don't you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I know a couple of conferences here or there that at the end of the day there's some red ink. And you know, when you get done taking care of the people that come in, there ain't much money left, and that's just the economics of it. You know, people say the same thing about writing books. They think, oh, you write a book, you're going to be loaded with money. Yeah, okay, whatever. Just like making money on Blog Talk Radio a lot of times.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. It's chump change. And Digger Dog just asked if I make any money doing conferences. The question to that, the answer to that question, Digger, is no. I have never charged a fee to speak at a conference. The only thing that conference organizers have ever offered me will be gas for my vehicle and my food while being there and a place to stay. Other than that, I make no cash, and I go there to have a good time. And that's.
By the way, those are typical things. When someone asks a speaker to come to their conference, typically, you know, they pay the expenses for that speaker, so that's not something that's unusual at all.
No, it's not.
I know.
No,
mean,
it's
I
not.
have,
and we can all tell you that Dr. Meldrum charges a pretty fair fee to come and speak.
Yeah.
But that's not saying that's a bad thing. Dr. Meldrum has reasons for his charge. You know, I'm certainly not a university professor, and you know, it's more of a good time for me to go to the conferences than it is anything. So, you know, the reasons are different.
Right. And you know what, Billy? I'll say this. You know, if somebody asks me if I charge, it depends on who it is. You know, if somebody asks me to talk at a conference, I may throw them a number, but it's nothing ridiculous.
Right.
You know, and that's because, you know, I've invested. I mean, I'm a very invested person in this, but I don't charge nothing ridiculous. But most of the time, when I do conferences that I've received compensation for, I did one conference. I wasn't expecting compensation. They said, "We'll take care of your gas. We'll take care of your room. We'll take care of your meal." And not only that, but when I got done, they said, "Here you go." I'm like, "What's this?" "Oh, it's your stipend for talking." I didn't even know I was getting one. There's been another time, you know, where they say, "Hey, we're going to give you X amount of dollars in merchandise or a gift card to go." And that's their offer, and I'm spending money out of my own pocket. I'm not getting money back in return, but I'm getting a gift card in return. So I take that. I mean, but I've been asked to speak. Like recently, I was asked to talk at a library out in Massachusetts, and they're like, "Well, can we get you, you know, something, you know, even $25 for gas or whatever?" No, I'm good. You know,
$25 for gas. Where do you live? Like next door?
I do. Come on, Massachusetts is a long state, like New York.
Steve, come on. I heard that you spoke at the Chicago conference, and Peter, the organizer of that conference, told me that you agreed to do it for bologna sandwich. So don't give me that.
No, that was for dinner. That was for dinner. Peanut butter and jelly for lunch. And bologna for dinner.
Steve did all right. Steve did all right because, you know, he charged $5 per autograph, so, you know.
I did not. Will you stop that rumor, too?
Hey, man, that's the rumor going around, is that we all charge $5 per autograph.
No, there was only really one man charging, and it wasn't for autographs. He was charging for the photos, and that's the, that was the kicker, and that's
well, just to set the record straight, I did not charge not a single person $5 for my autograph.
Right.
Just set that straight.
In fact, he paid a few people $5 to get his autograph.
Exactly. I was happy that they come up and ask for my autograph.
Exactly. Let's set the record straight in that too. That was something Peter had done at Chautauqua the first year. He was trying to get people to pay for autographs, and we all looked at each other and said, "We're not charging anything for autographs." And we're like, "No." So we just did them. People want an autograph. Right. Here you go. We'll sign it. And that's what we did. And this year he didn't bother doing that at all. He didn't say anything about that this year. So that was a good thing. But yeah, we've never charged for autographs. In fact, I'm kind of surprised they even asked. I was like, "What? Really? Yeah. Okay."
Exactly. Well, he's been holding for a while, so let's get Mr. Henry May in here. How you doing tonight, Henry?
I'm doing good, and I wanted to say hello to Steve. Been a
while.
Yeah, been a while since we talked. And last time we talked was when you were doing your show. So.
Yeah, and we'll be coming back soon, Henry.
Yeah.
I just talked to Mr. Bennett this morning. It looks like we're going to probably be firing up probably the third week of October.
Good deal.
So we're definitely we're going to get things back on track. We all needed a little time off. I had, despite the passing of my brother, which was really unexpected, there's been a lot of positive things that have happened in my life. I mean, I have a new wonderful woman in my life, and so I needed a little time to spend and harness that a little bit. I moved, so that kind of set things in a little disruptive state for a bit. But no, I mean, everything, it wasn't done, there was nothing done that was like on an emergency basis. In fact, I was planning on taking a couple of weeks off and coming back on, and co-hosts at the time were going to run the show, but they opted that they really didn't want to run the show without me. So, but Chris Bennett and I will be returning in the third week of October. So we're looking forward to me and Chris being back, and Henry, of course, you are welcome anytime for your color commentary.
Yeah. Wanted to send my condolences about your brother, Steve.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
He was a hell of a guy, and I'll tell you what. This is kind of a funny story. 7 hours before he actually passed away, he had called me up to tell me he was at the hospital, and he says, well, they asked me my birthday, so I told them December 6th. They said, okay, Mr. Kulls, what year? He goes, every year. That was, well, Mr. Kulls, we're probably going to have to put stents in your heart and stuff like that once your coagulants build up a bit. And we're just wondering if you would like a nurse to come visit you at the house after you get discharged. And, him saying, oh, she's 5'2", blonde and cute. And that's my brother, And, so, at least, I look at it this way. I was blessed that he had called me before he passed, and I was also blessed that he made me laugh my ass off before he did. And, if anything, he went down. My sister-in-law was with him up until about just a few hours before he passed away, and he was doing fine. And he was making everybody laugh. And that's just a family trait of ours. When we get in these situations, all we can do is laugh and have fun and try to make light of things. And he went out just like I would expect my brother to go out, quick, fast, and putting a smile on everybody's face. So, I was blessed with that. So, thank you so much, Henry.
Yeah, and this whole thing with the thing with the hoaxer, the tiny whitey guy, he's pretty much a footnote, and that's pretty much all he is. So he's just a footnote. He's still making videos though. That's the thing about it. But
you got to understand it's all psychological, Henry. He's got to do it to make himself feel good.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's just the kid who got the tidy whitey pulled over his head. He probably got stuffed in a locker a few times too.
Yeah. Anyway, Digger Dog wanted me to ask this, so I'm going to ask it. This is the standard Bill Green question. Are you currently investigating any recent sightings or footprints or video footages or anything like that?
He's channeling Bill Green.
Yeah.
That was True Henry May from Digger Dog from Bill Green. Okay, we got that scene up to these. I'm surprised it came through as clear as it did, because usually I think, well, are you investigating any new lunch, salad bars, or buffets? Something like the answer to all of that is I did get a recent sighting. Well, I got a sighting report, but it was from 2008. So I do have one of my folks down there, and my new assistant field director is Bruce Barraclough. He's out of Staten Island. I think some of you may have actually talked to Bruce before here and again, and I know Bruce is following some leads up in Orange County that are fairly recent. So I have a feeling that within the next week or two, I'm going to be spinning wheels down to the south, which is quite fun because we don't get too many cases down in the southern tier. Most of my exploration has been up north. So yeah, and we're talking about 2 or 3, maybe even 4 sighting reports involving about 5 or 6 people. So, I'm looking forward to getting into those cases. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. They got the Oklahoma Bigfoot Symposium coming up in Stillwell, Oklahoma. I'm going to be there. I know they got a pretty good lineup. They got Paul Halsey, and they got Ron Bowles, and they got Jerry Gressett, several others. Robert Swain of Laugh Squatch is going to be there as well. So, yeah, nice. I'm going to be heading there in a few weeks. Never been to Oklahoma.
Well, Henry, just make sure they don't close the state before you get there. That's happened. I know there's been a time they closed the state of Vermont, and I come in there and sorry, the state of Vermont's closed. What? I had to turn around. I don't know why. I heard they opened it up like 5 minutes later, but you just make sure they don't do that to you.
Yeah. Hey, what is going on with, was it Bill Brand's group? I know Bill Brand has was it Northern Bigfoot, something like that?
What's going on with it? Well, I don't know if you're aware, but Bill and I have parted company back in early 2009. That's all I'll say about that for now.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
But as far as his group, I have no idea what they do. They have some web presence, but the stuff I've seen on there hasn't been updated since about 2009. So I really don't know what his group is doing. I do know that, they're not an open organization. Like if somebody asked me for information, we would gladly, assist any organization that comes up to us. But Bill's organization is not that open, and that was part of our philosophical differences.
And one more thing, I just got the new American Sasquatch Hunters documentary.
Oh, excellent, J. Michael. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I know Billy and Steve are in it.
And Eric Altman's in it. Dr. Meldrum's in it.
Yep.
Yep. So very good. Major Tim.
Yep. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't as good as some of the others I've seen, but it was pretty good. I mean, and Meldrum always gives the great scientific perspective and things like that, and of course Tim Cassidy also, because he's a forest ranger, or he's a ranger, and I also like what's that?
And first and foremost, he's a biologist himself.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and speaking of Jeff, he's going to be speaking at this event at the Quinault, I think it's a casino on the west coast of Washington. In November, they're calling it the Sasquatch Summit, and it's going to be he and Derek Randalls and Ron Moorhead and several others are going to be speaking at this event, and the website is SasquatchSummit.com. And that'll be actually close to the Olympic Peninsula.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's right.
Which is a hot spot for activity.
And just as a program note, the rest of the Sasquatch Radio tonight will be brought to you by the letter M. All right, thank you. Sorry. How to do a Sesame Street plug, sorry.
Spin Dave is asking, is there any news on the blimp research? I think he's talking about the Falcon Project. As far as I know, it may be close to, I read one article that said it was close to being ready, but I don't know. They may be
my
ready
understanding is my understanding is he's still got quite a bit of money to go, I believe.
Yeah.
But you know what? This is just total parody, and I don't want anybody getting pissed off at me for it. But somehow, in my twisted cartoonish mind, I just see the thing going off, and then I have visions of the Hindenburgs.
Oh my Lord!
Oh no! All that time and all that money. But no. I really wish them the best. But I'm sorry, the Hindenburg, Joe just had to go in there. Too soon? Too soon?
Oh,
by the way,
man.
You can donate to the Falcon Project at ISU. I think you can go to the ISU.edu website, and you can actually find where you can donate. I actually donated about a month ago, so got a nice card back from them. And of course, you have to know, you have to look for the specific department to donate to. Jeff Meldrum has the address on his Facebook page.
And Henry, I'm glad to hear your auctions are going very well on eBay with all the crap you bought a few years back at the Ohio Cup.
Oh gosh.
Hey Henry.
Yeah, I know. Bruce's pocketbook's a little short, I think, because he had to fight Henry over a few items. Is that right, Bruce?
You ever seen Storage Wars? The way those guys bid over? Yeah, that's Bruce and Henry at the friggin' auction. I think Henry's like, I'll bid on that. Bruce is over there going, yeah.
I think Henry purchased most of the auction items, probably like 90% of them.
He was a little disappointed. He realized that Dr. Meldrum wasn't up for auction either. But no, Dr. Meldrum's just a thinker. He's not up for auction.
Oh man.
Yeah, you might have a Dr. Meldrum in your collection.
Well, Henry, I was saying that I have some Bluff Creek sand. If you want to auction that off as part of your eBay auction.
Actually, I already have some. Actually, MK gave some to me like a few years ago. I have like a former parrot food container full of it.
Well, Henry, I have you beat because the sand I bought from MK actually had Bigfoot blood in it, where the Bigfoot family was massacred.
Hey, you know what? If Henry didn't go to conferences, American Express Traveler's Checks would be out of business. Just remember
that. And the city of Chicago, Illinois, wouldn't have had a new visitor.
That's right. Yeah, Billy. The city of Chicago has their annual Henry May Day, where they expect to see him arrive on a bus, asleep.
Oh wow.
Oh well, guys, thanks for taking my call.
haven't heard much from you tonight, Bruce. Do you have any questions for Steve?
Hey,
Well, that's because I couldn't get a word in edgewise, Billy.
Well, now's your opportunity.
No, it was good. It was the only question I really had for Steve is, when you obviously you went out there to prove that this was a hoax. But do you think you're actually playing into his hands by actually giving him the time and attention, and wouldn't it be better off just to ignore people like that?
Well, I kind of look at it this way. There was a lot of people that were believing his BS. There's a lot of people spending money on his BS. And the only way to do it is, he wants to bring my name up. I didn't give him any attention since May. The last time I mentioned Mick Dyer was the time I went on his radio show, and I was done with it. So we go 3 months, and, of course, he starts making this challenge. So you know what? If it's to get a few people to say, hey, listen, I'm getting ripped off, or if it stops a few people from saying, let me give this guy $100 so I can have silver membership, well, then I've done my job. We got to look at it from the aspect of, it doesn't matter knowing what it is. It's for the public good. And that's the way I kind of looked at it. It's for the public good. It's no different than there's people that still fall for 419 scams, which are the advanced fee fraud scams from Nigeria. And people still fall for them, despite people realize, you wouldn't think so. But he's preying on people that have a belief. And it gets kind of back into the cult of things. What I'm saying is that he is feeding on people's belief that Bigfoot exists. Now, I believe it exists, and I'm pretty sure that the rest of the hosts believe it exists. But when you start feeding off of that belief in people, that's why people will believe anything, pay anything, do anything. The same way people believe in the way Jim Jones worked on people who had faith in God. It's the same thing that Dyer's doing, except he's doing a little something different. But you see, what I have the ability to do is step back and say, well, what if Bigfoot didn't exist? How would I look at this thing? And that's what people need to do. If people just sit back and forget for a minute that they believe Bigfoot exists and now look at the problem, people will have a clearer picture of what's going on. But the problem is a lot of people don't have that ability. And frankly, a lot of the people that have fallen for this, are not the most up, they're not really Bigfoot researchers, they're Bigfoot enthusiasts. And, now he's dragging in people that are enthusiasts into this. And, is it playing into his hand? Absolutely not, because it certainly didn't go the way he wanted it to. And I knew it wasn't going to, and I had a running game plan to make sure that wasn't going to happen.
Well, what about the next time, with the next challenge he issues, or the next
claim
he makes?
What did I say earlier? He has lost that ability to call me out now. By doing that, by calling his bluff, now, and him not showing up, or by him not producing what he said he was going to produce if he did show up, he has lost that ability to call anybody out. Because you know what, dude? Rick, you called people out before and you didn't bother showing up. If you got something to show, you show up here on my time schedule. If not, go to hell. Because we've played that game before. Sorry, have a nice day. And that's the answer to that. By doing that, now I have negated any other challenge he can ask of anybody going forward.
Yeah, any of this. All this hoaxing does, honestly, is make this field look more ridiculous.
Only if we catch it.
Right, but I know. But see, here's the problem: the general public remembers the hoaxes more than they remember the busting.
You would actually be surprised in some cases. For us, 2008 was like yesterday. But a lot of people have forgotten about 2008. We can't get the public, the general public, to remember what it was like to be an American at 9 o'clock in the morning on 9/11/2001. if people can't remember that, they're certainly not going to remember, the Three Stooges on a stage in California talking about a Bigfoot body that never existed.
Right.
If people can't remember that, we remember it because this is what we do. But the general public, they look at it for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever on television, and they go, huh, and they forget about it. I mean, seriously, can you name the last, let's just say the last local official that got arrested in Manassas? You remember the person's name?
No.
No, exactly. That's my point. Is that we can't get people to remember important issues. Hell, they arrest Marion Barry for cocaine use when he was mayor of Washington, D.C., and 6-7 years later they reelect him.
Oh yeah, well that's Washington D.C.
That's why. But that's why we have to take people like Dick Dyer seriously every now and again. Is because in 2008 he pulls this, now he's back 5 years later trying to pull it again. Why not ignore him? Well, why? Because he's sucking people in. He's taking people's money. That's why. That's why we can't let that stand. And you know what? By standing against that, it doesn't make us look bad as a community. It makes us look better. It makes us people realize that we're not the ones that believe in everything. We're very selective in what we believe in. We're very selective. We're very tough on our evidence. And that's
obviously
against that.
Right. Now, hoaxing is obviously a major problem for a lot of people. I mean, you see it talked about on Facebook, you see it talked about on the net.
Mm-hmm.
So this is probably a good question, but I don't know that we really have a thorough answer. Are there ways to identify a hoaxer prior to their claims?
Prior to their claims, no. But I can tell you a good profile of what a hoaxer may look like. It generally will be a lonely older person, not necessarily younger. The serial hoaxer will be an older person who has suffered a recent loss, such as a divorce or loss of a loved one that, lives with them, a spouse, or somebody that's gone through a divorce. There are so many serial hoaxers that just seem like lonely old guys, even if they're married sometimes. They're just lonely old guys.
Well, Steve, according to that criteria, you could be the next hoaxer.
No, I just solved that problem. but yeah, I've taken care of that problem. But no, it's really tough to say. I mean, as far as you should never, profiling is not really recommended. You just like, when they teach you and you make sales, you don't pre-qualify people. You let things go. Because then you get prejudiced. And
right.
The fact is you have to weigh everything out. You have to look at their sociological makeup. I mean, remember a couple of years ago they had that guy, Mr. Mike, and he claimed to have these Sasquatch in the backyard. And I remember Mr. Mike in the backyard, Bigfoot. And, he was in, and I had a roundtable discussion, and our good friend Indy was on that round table. Henry May was on it. Craig Wollier was on it. And we were breaking down the guy's story, and we were pulling out the flaws left and right. But the one thing that stood out to me was he was an old guy. He's not meaning anybody no harm. He's not looking to make money off of this thing. And all he did was take care of his sister, who was older than he was, and he sounded like he could have been a busboy at the Last Supper. So I think really that in most cases it's just a sad hoaxing is just a very sad thing. Even Dyer, in looking at Dyer is a sociopathic attempt trying to elevate himself, make him feel more important, more esteem, more whatever. But, people say, well, what about this is a money-making scam because he's charging me. No, that's his way of trying to elevate himself. See, people are paying me for this. He's bragging about that. He's not really doing this to make money. He's doing this so he can give them bragging rights. Now, you look at somebody like Carmine Biscardi over on the West Coast, and, hoaxing is secondary. Bigfoot is even secondary to what he's really doing, and that is, he basically, from a period of 2006 to a period of 2008, he collected almost $500,000 to put up museums that never came about. And even after the point, he was still collecting more money for museums, and he's never put one up yet. So that's the Bigfoot thing for Biscardi would appear to be, as some would say, a front for what his real intentions are, is that trying to, quote unquote, a Bigfoot museum business and putting out a business plan that he never really intends to follow through on. Otherwise, I mean, he's been doing this since 2006 with this museum gig. You figure, 7 years he'd at least have one up by now, given all the money he's been given.
Right.
So that's secondary, and yes, that motive is money there, no doubt. But his little shenanigans in the Bigfoot world are actually just a front for what's going on behind the scenes, and I think people don't quite get that. People don't understand the seriousness of that. Is that you have this clown going around, and that's the reason why he wants TV appearances, is because it's credo for him to show to people he's trying to sucker into giving them $25,000, $10,000, even $5,000, to say, well, you come on, you can invest in this museum. I'm going to have this in the casino. I'm going to have this here. I'm going to have this here. And, of course, they all fall through.
Yeah.
So that's why it's very important to look at that aspect.
Any more questions, Bruce? You're just too quiet tonight.
Well, all right. So you covered hoaxers, but what about other people looking for attention? Troublemakers, or how would you profile those people?
Well, it's really hard to say, and the reason why is those kind of people generally fly under the radar. The way I look at it is anonymously. And there is elements, and you know what? It's not conducive just to the Bigfoot community. I don't want anybody to think for 1 second that, this doesn't go on in all the other communities. It does. It goes on in the paranormal community. It goes on in the UFO community. It goes on definitely in the Loch Ness community, and there is a Loch Ness community, and I myself have ended up dealing with a hoaxer in the Loch Ness community, and the sad thing about it is I went out a couple of years ago to Loch Ness, and I dealt with a hoaxer, and I dealt with yet another hoaxer just a few months ago who was actually the captain of the boat that we were riding around in. And, he himself has been one of those troublemakers over the years as well. So, there's really, every community is just basically a microscopic look at which the world is anywhere. I mean, you go to work and you work for a rather large organization, you're going to have the people that are going to be the crackpots. You're going to have people that are going to be the ones that bring false claims. You're going to have the ones that try to start trouble. Just a matter of that. How to profile them? Hard to say. Because you don't know. There isn't necessarily a stereotypical thing, because you see, hoaxing is one thing. I mean, that bends a lot of different norms and mores. When you look at somebody that's causing trouble, or a troublemaker, a guy that likes a person or people that like stirring the pot, they generally can be anybody. They can be somebody that's just crotchety. They could be somebody that's just an asshole. They could be somebody that just for some reason has a tick over one particular thing. There's just too many variables on there to really profile that kind of person.
I go with the middle answer.
Yeah, well, I can understand that too.
What do you think, Bruce? I go with the middle answer.
Probably. That'd be answer B.
I'm sorry, Bill. Go ahead.
No, what was you going to say?
I was saying, you see, the thing with hoaxers is that the difference between a hoaxer and the troublemakers is the hoaxers, we need to call out and we need to push, because it eventually will make them go off the ledge. The troublemakers, those are the kind of folks we need just to turn our back to and ignore, because they'll, if they're not getting to you, they'll find something else to do. And you got to understand that the whole thing is not to feed those kind of people. The hoaxers, depending on what they are. I mean, I dealt with yet another hoaxer between May and August, and this was a guy making rounds on Facebook. And when I dealt with him, he very promptly went away. So you can make a difference. Not all hoaxers stick around. The Linda Newton Perrys, the Rick Dyers, the Biscardis, they're all sociopathic. They're sociopathic hoaxers. And when you hit them between the eyes, they fight. But for the most part, most hoaxers, if you hit them between the eyes, they go away. You got to remember that too. Whereas filmmakers, if you hit them between the eyes, they're only going to come back again. So what I do is I just choose to let them say what they need to say and move on. I don't feed into it.
Right.
You
got any more, Bruce?
Well, Steve, do you feel like you're being particularly targeted? I mean, certainly by this one individual you are, but in general, do you think that you're kind of a target because you're out there, you're fairly, vocal about your research, and, you've had some dealings with some of these people in the past?
Well, I look at it this way. If people want to target me, I don't know why they would target me. I'm the anti-hoax guy. I go after the hoaxers. I am very articulate in my Bigfoot research. I'm very serious. My investigations are very. They just don't get put out there. I just don't get a piece of evidence and throw it out there. I research it up, down, left, right, and sideways. And if people don't like my personality or whatever, well, then so be it. Not everybody is going to like me. I get that. I understand that. I'm out there. Oh, well, that's not my fault. That's just, I got asked to do. It's not like I put myself out there to be out there. I got approached by Monster Quest to do an episode. I then got approached by Nat Geo. I then got approached by, America's Book of Secrets, and I then got approached. It's not like I go out and I search them out. The same thing with a lot of my speaking engagements, for the most part, the first few years, I never sought them out. They came to me. If people got a problem with that, well, I'm sorry you got a problem with that. That's just the price of I guess you want to call it success. I don't know why. In one aspect, I call it success because I've tried to portray research in a very serious and meticulous manner and not something that's junk science. And I've tried very hard to keep it that way. And if people want to take pop shots at that, well, guess what? They're going to take pop shots at anything. And those are generally the people that can't rise to the level of what other people have done. Or what
I think you hit it on the head, Steve.
What he just said sounds very familiar, doesn't it, Bruce?
Yeah, it certainly does.
If people have issues with that, then they just can't generally rise to the level of where the other person's at, and they're just taking shots for political gain, and that's unfortunate. I think that we all should be focusing on solving this mystery, not on the bullshit. And
at the same time, Steve, although we need to focus on the mystery and solving the mystery, at the same time have fun doing it.
Well, that's it's funny you mention that, because my number one, everybody asked me when I set this meeting up, and it's right on my PowerPoint presentation I did for the group. the group as a group? What is our number one priority? And that's to have fun at what we're doing. I don't care about, well, we need to find evidence, we need to do this, we need to do that. No, we just need to have fun at what we're doing. The rest will come. If we're having fun at what we're doing, the rest will come. And you know what? My group specifically has two other priorities that are more important than any Sasquatch research. And that your number one priority as a member of my group is, your number one priority is family. You take care of your family first. And your number two priority is your job. Because I certainly ain't getting a paycheck from doing this. I worked, and that's what pisses me off about those people that take pop shots at me, is that I work just like everybody else. People think I'm making $1,000, a lot of money off. I ain't making jack squat. In fact, I'm lucky if I make 1% of what I spend a year in gas, in website, in fuel costs, in equipment costs, in gear costs, stuff like that.
Bail bonds.
Bail bonds, yeah, exactly. Yeah, bail bonds.
Steve, I'm glad you articulated the priority of your group because, based on my observation, I always thought the priority of your group was to get inebriated without being incarcerated by the authorities. So I'm glad.
No, that's the other group, Bruce.
Okay.
That's the other group.
I'm glad you spelled it out.
No. In fact, just I mentioned that too is that I hadn't really addressed that matter, but I have yet to see an alcoholic beverage on the Sasquatch field yet, which is very, very good to me to see. If I saw alcohol come out in the Sasquatch field, I'd probably tell them to put it back in their vehicle.
Well, Steve, I will tell you this. I have actually seen people who claim to be researchers go out in the field after having, just inordinate amounts of alcohol. And you'd be surprised how many people do that. And it seems like we want to have fun, but honestly, you're wasting people's time if you're not responsible.
Well, the fun to me is in the research. The fun to me is doing the stuff. If I want to have a bonfire and get plastered, then I'll do it a lot closer and where it's a lot less bugs, and I don't have to crap in a field,
Yeah, but Steve, that's the highlight of your night, though, isn't it?
What, crapping in the field?
Well, at least that way you can, pick up get a fecal sample.
Yeah, you know what? The one thing you don't want to do is you want to watch what you wipe with, because poison ivy can be really a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Well, you can always, you can always do like a dog does, just kind of scoot on the ground.
Well, yeah.
I don't want to see that.
Sorry to give everyone that picture.
Oof. I'm even thinking of that picture and I don't like it. No, in my luck, I'd probably go over a mound of fire ants. Well,
I think we've had fun tonight.
I think we did. We had a lot of laughs, and of course, some were at Henry May's expense again. Love you, Henry May. I know you're still out there.
Steve, it seems like you have a good attitude. You probably do what? Before you go out on your Bigfoot expeditions, you probably have your daily affirmation where you stand in front of the mirror and you say, "I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me." And then
No, you're actually quite close though. I stand in front of the mirror and go, "God, I hope I don't screw up tonight." Yeah, that's my only affirmation. I don't want to screw this up tonight. And when you do a paradoxal show, you make sure the makeup truck is close by.
You know, Billy, Steve actually has a pretty good attitude because he kind of puts himself out there. He says, well, you know, if you like me, then you like me. If you don't, you don't. But I don't think Steve realizes it's really like, you know, maybe 40-60 whether people like him or not. You know.
Yeah. No,
well,
you can always tell. You can always tell.
I got a couple of weeks ago.
You can always tell when you're liked. You can always tell when you're liked, especially when an event coordinator puts you in a chicken coop.
That's the last time I'll be going up to that conference.
That may be the last time for that conference.
Sorry, I had to take that crack.
It's okay, Billy.
You know what? No, you know
I'll
what
remember
is even more interesting is when you go in that chicken coop and you come back and you find eggs all over the place.
I know it. You know. Especially when you know there ain't been no chickens in there for quite a few years.
I know. And then you eat one.
And then you eat it, yeah. And you enjoy it.
Then. I think that's a wrap.
Guys, it's been my pleasure as usual, and I hope you all doing well. And Billy, I hope things cheer up for you, man. And Bruce, pleasure as always. And I'll be taking my beating probably another few months from now from you anyway. So.
All right. Well, thanks for being on, Steve. We appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Thanks,
Have a wonderful night.
You too. All right, there, Brucey. I think we've exhausted another show tonight. We ran quite a bit over.
Yeah, we did.
So hopefully it didn't tie you up.
No,
but
I was just it's just amazing, Billy, just to hear other people's perspectives on this whole hoaxing thing. I can't wrap my mind around why people do it. I mean, I understand the psychology, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that don't make sense. And I think we touched on a lot of them tonight. But, all right, did we have anything else before we go off the air tonight?
Nope.
That should about cover it.
I think that's about it.
All right. Well, we will see everyone next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Be watching the Facebook page, the Sasquatch Watch Radio Facebook page. If you have not liked that yet, please feel free to go to Facebook. Up in your search bar on Facebook, click, just type in Sasquatch Watch Radio. The page will come up. Like the page, and that way you can get the updates on what we're going to have on the upcoming show. So if we don't have anything else, I think we'll call it a night. So, Bruce, thanks for being on with me tonight, and we'll see everyone next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Remember to join us again next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We appreciate every one of our listeners. Thank you so much for being here.